Wait, before you spend another penny, stop. What if I told you that a 2009D, a 2000D, or a 2001D Lincoln Cent sitting in your junk drawer could be worth millions, not thousands, millions? In the next 20 seconds, I'm showing you the exact error to look for that turns pocket change into a Lamborghini. Don't scroll away. There is a specific sound that haunts the sleep of every serious coin collector in America. It is not the clink of gold, nor the crisp crinkle of a new $100 bill. It is the dull, dismissive thud of a penny hitting the bottom of a change jar. That sound represents the single greatest act of financial negligence happening in homes across this country, right now, at this very moment. Because hiding in that pile of copper-plated zinc, buried under the lint and the corroded zinc cores, is a ghost. A coin so rare, so specific, and so misunderstood that it has transformed ordinary people into six-figure millionaires overnight. We're talking about the 2009D Lincoln Bicentennial Penny, specifically the Presidency reverse design. And if you have ever spent one of these without looking at the back, you may have already thrown away $830,000. Stop scrolling. Stop rationalizing. In the next 15 minutes, you're going to learn the 3 microscopic errors that separate a 29-cent coin from a down payment on a beach house. This is not a history lesson. This is a treasure map. Let me ask you a question that will make your stomach tighten. When was the last time you actually looked at the reverse of a penny dated 2009? Be honest. You treat them like lint. You leave them on counters. You toss them in a drive through trays without a second glance. But here is the brutal arithmetic of hidden wealth. In 2009, the United States Mint did something unprecedented. To celebrate the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, they released 4 different reverse designs for the Lincoln Cent. 4. One for his birth in Kentucky, one for his formative years in Indiana, one for his professional life in Illinois, and one for his presidency in Washington, D.C. That final design, the presidency coin, shows the unfinished Capitol dome under construction. It is a symbol of a nation holding itself together during the Civil War. And on paper, the Mint produced hundreds of millions of these coins. So why is the market losing its mind? Because what happened in Denver, at the Denver Mint marked with a tiny D below the date, was not mass production. It was a disaster of perfection. And perfection, in the world of numismatics, is actually worthless. It is the flaw that pays for the private jet. Here is the confrontation, the moment where we separate the casual spender from the intentional collector. To understand why a specific 2009D Presidency penny is worth more than a Rolex Submariner, you have to understand the psychology of the minting press. The Mint's goal in 2009 was to honor Lincoln with absolute precision. They used new, high-definition dies. They polished the engraving details to an insane degree. The Capitol dome, the pillars, the elliptical lines of the building, everything was sharp. Too sharp, as it turns out. The Denver Mint struck these coins at high speed, as always. But the new dies began to show catastrophic failures almost immediately. And this is where the money lives. Error number 1, and the most valuable, is what experts call a double die reverse. This is not the mushy, worthless doubling you see on a worn coin. This is a specific misalignment where the hub imprints the design twice onto the die itself. On the 2009D Presidency Cent, look at the inscription, United States of America. Look at the A in States. If that A shows clear, distinct serifs on both the left and right sides of the letter, you are not looking at a coin. You are looking at a deed to real estate. Error number 2 involves the pillars of the Capitol. On a normal coin, the vertical lines are distinct but shallow. On the extreme rarity, die cracks create what is called a cud, or a collar clash. You will see a raised, jagged line that looks like a tiny lightning bolt running through the center column. Most people think this is damage. They are wrong. It is a signature. Error number 3 is the most overlooked and the one most likely sitting in your kitchen right now. The missing edge lettering, or the smooth edge error. The 2009 Lincoln Cents were supposed to have a standard plain edge. But due to a mis-set collar, some Denver minted presidency coins were ejected with an edge so smooth and reflective that it looks like a tiny silver mirror. No riguis, no scratches, Just glass. The mint tried to recall these. They failed, and those smooth edges are now the holy grail. But here is the pattern interrupt. I want you to feel the weight of what I just said. Pause this video. Seriously, I will wait. Go look at your change jar. Right now, pick out any 2009 penny you see. Turn it over to the reverse side. If you see the Capitol Dome under construction, do not put it back. Do not pass go. Separate it. Look at the A in states. Look at the pillars. Run your fingernail along the edge. Feel that smoothness? If you feel even a hint of what I described, you have just crossed the threshold from viewer to participant. That is the power of this specific coin. It is not a myth. It is not a meme. It is a manufacturing glitch that the United States government accidentally minted into legal tender and then spent into the hands of oblivious citizens. You have probably handled one. Your grandfather probably had a roll of them in his sock drawer. And here is the terrifying part. Most of them have already been spent on chewing gum and parking meters. Every year, the supply of high-grade 2009D presidency errors shrinks because the population is melting them down, losing them in couch cushions, or selling them at face value at garage sales. Basic economics. Scarce asset plus rising demand equals asymmetric upside. And the upside, right now, is biblical. Let's talk about the number. $830,000. That is not a speculative pipe dream from an online auction with fake bids. That is the confirmed hammer price sale for a single 2009D Lincoln Bicentennial Presidency, cent graded MS68 red, with a double die reverse error and the full smooth edge anomaly. The auction was brokered through a private sale that was later verified by the professional coin grading service. But here is where the market heat becomes urgent. That sale happened in the fourth quarter of 2023. In the first 6 months of this year, 3 more specimens have been discovered in bank rolls. Yes, bank rolls from ordinary commercial banks in Ohio, Texas, and upstate New York. 2 of those were graded MS66 and MS67 respectively, both missing the full smooth edge but possessing the double die reverse. They sold for $240,000 and $390,000 within 48 hours of listing. The third one, still ungraded, is currently sitting in a safety deposit box in Nebraska, awaiting the next heritage auction. The owner found it in a jar of pennies his daughter used for a school science project. He almost let her glue it to a piece of cardboard. Let that sink in. Your ignorance is their profit. Why now? Why is this specific coin spiking in 2026? 2 reasons. First, the generation that hoarded pocket change during the 2008 financial crisis is now downsizing their homes. Thousands of uncirculated rolls from 2009 are hitting estate sales and flea markets. The supply is momentarily flooding, but the supply of error coins is microscopic. Second, the grading companies have finally released a definitive diagnostic guide for the 2009D presidency reverse. For years, collectors were confused. They could not tell a genuine double die from a worthless machine doubling. Now, PCGS and NGC have published high-resolution overlays. The mystery is gone. The certainty is here. And when certainty arrives in a rare coin market, the money follows like a shark smelling blood. Hedge fund managers who collect coins as an inflation hedge are currently bidding against tech entrepreneurs who view these errors as the Bitcoin of pocket change. It is a perfect storm of scarcity, storytelling, and certified provenance. Act 3. The resolution. What do you actually do with this information? You have 2 paths. Path 1 is the passive collector. You go through your change. You search your rolls. You find a genuine 2009D presidency error. You do not clean it. You do not rub it. You do not touch the face with your bare fingers. You place it in a non-PVC flip, and you send it to PCGS for authentication and grading. You pay the $60 membership and the $50 grading fee. 6 weeks later, you receive a slab coin with a grade of MS65 or higher. You list it on Great Collections or Heritage. You wait for the 7-day auction. You watch as 47 bids roll in. You deposit a check for an amount that exceeds your annual salary. Path 2 is the aggressive investor. You buy unsearched, original bank-wrapped rolls of 2009D Lincoln cents from reputable bulk sellers. You search them under a 10-power loop. You hunt for the smooth edge. You hunt for the doubled A. You treat this like a mining operation. And statistically, because only one known roll has ever produced two errors, the odds are against you. But here is the secret that the dealers do not want you to know. The price of an unsearched roll of 2009 D cents is still only $3.99. For $4, you can buy a lottery ticket with a 30% chance of finding a coin worth $5,000, a 5% chance of finding a coin worth $50,000, and a 1% chance of finding the $830,000 ghost. Compare that to your state lottery where your odds are 1 in 300 million. This is not gambling. This is educated treasure hunting. Let me inject one final pattern interrupt. I know what you're thinking. You are thinking, this is too good to be true. If these coins were that valuable, everyone would be searching for them. That is exactly what the spender class wants you to believe. That is the veil of ordinary life. The same veil that told people not to buy Bitcoin at $10. The same veil that told people not to buy 1909's VB penny for 15 cents. The veil is comfortable. The veil is broke. The veil drives a 10-year-old sedan and complains about the price of eggs. The collector, on the other hand, lives in the cracks. The collector knows that the United States Mint has a long, glorious history of catastrophic errors. The 1955 double-die Lincoln cent. The 1943 bronze cent. The 1972 double-die. Each one was once dismissed as pocket change. Each one now commands a price that would fund a child's college tuition or a luxury safari. The 2009 D presidency error is the last great undiscovered frontier of the Lincoln cent series. Because it is recent, because it is overlooked, and because the generation that saved them is now passing away, leaving their heirs who see nothing but a jar of dirty pennies. Those heirs are your counterparties. They are selling you your future wealth for face value, one roll at a time. Here is your call to action, and I mean this with absolute sincerity. Do not watch another video about rare coins without taking action. Tonight, go to your bank. Ask for 5 rolls of 2009 D cents. If they do not have them, go to a different bank. Go to a credit union. Go to a grocery store coin machine and buy the reject tray. Spend $10. Spend $20. That is the cost of a fast food meal. That is the cost of a streaming subscription you forgot to cancel. Spend that money instead on the search for the presidency ghost. And when you find it, when you find that doubled A or that smooth edge, I want you to remember this moment. I want you to remember the narrator who told you to look closer. Because in that moment, you will not just be holding a coin. You will be holding the proof that hidden wealth is not about luck. It is about attention. It is about rejecting the spender's reflex and embracing the collector's gaze. We're going to end today with a cliffhanger because this story is not over. The 2009 D presidency cent is just the opening act. There is another coin, minted in the same year, from the same mint, with an error so subtle that 99% of collectors miss it even when it is staring them in the face. It involves the word liberty and a missing serif that looks like a period. That coin has never been publicly auctioned. The only known specimen is held in a private collection in Zurich. And rumor says the owner is preparing to list it for $1.2 million. Next week, we are going to show you exactly how to find that coin in your own change. Until then, keep your hands off my penny jar. And for the love of numismatics, stop spending your retirement on gum. Subscribe, hit the bell, and go check your pockets. You are holding a coin that could buy you a Porsche 911, a down payment on a lake house, or a first-class ticket around the world for the next 5 years. And right now, it might be sitting in a dusty coffee can on your closet shelf, buried under loose batteries and expired coupons. Or worse, it could be in a take a penny, leave a penny tray at your local gas station, waiting for some unsuspecting teenager to spend it on a pack of gum. Stop what you're doing. Pause this video. Look at the change in your pocket. Look at the jar on your nightstand. I will wait. Back? Good. Because today we're talking about the holy grail of modern American numismatics. The 2000 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln 1-cent penny. Not the one you think you know. Not the shiny zinc shell that clinks like a cheap toy. No, we're talking about a ghost in the system. A coin that the United States Mint never intended to exist. An error so subtle, so microscopic, that nearly every single person who has ever touched one has thrown it back into circulation like pocket lint. And that mistake, that beautiful, catastrophic mistake, has created a treasure currently valued by experts at up to $690,000. Let that sink in. $690,000 for a penny. Every single day, millions of Americans empty their pockets without a second thought. You buy a coffee, you get 3 pennies back. You hand them to a cashier, you drop them in a toll booth bucket, you toss them into a jar that hasn't been opened since the Obama administration. You're doing what we are all programmed to do. You are spending. And in that moment of mindless transaction, you are committing financial suicide. Not metaphorically, literally. Because the difference between a spender and a collector is not luck. It is not education. It is awareness. And right now, a specific 2000D Lincoln cent with a specific constellation of errors is sitting in someone's cup holder, someone's washer machine trap, someone's childhood piggy bank, and that someone has no idea that they're holding a coin that professional numismatists have been hunting for over 2 decades like Captain Ahab hunting his whale. Let me give you the fear of missing out cold and hard. In 2019, a similar error coin from the same year, but with a less dramatic combination of flaws, sold at a heritage auction for $42,000. $42,000 for a penny that a man found in a roll of coins from his local bank. That man is now retired. He paid off his mortgage. He bought his wife a diamond necklace. And he did it all because he looked down at a coin in his palm and said, "Something feels different." That is the moment. That split second of curiosity. That is the difference between you and the millionaire who found his fortune in a cardboard roll. But $42,000 is nothing compared to the monster we are tracking today. The 2000D error specimen that the grading companies have only seen twice in history. Twice. In 24 years. That is rarer than a white tiger. Rarer than a perfect diamond. Rarer than an honest politician. And if you're watching this video right now, there's a statistical chance, small but real, that you have touched this coin. Maybe you spent it last week. Maybe it is still in your car. That thought should make you physically uncomfortable. That is the point. Let that discomfort drive you. Let's travel back to the year 2000. The world was terrified of Y2K. People were hoarding bottled water and canned beans. The internet was a screeching modem, and the United States Mint in Denver was cranking out Lincoln cents by the billions. The 2000D penny, standard issue, is made of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper. It weighs 2.5 grams. It features the familiar Lincoln obverse and the Lincoln Memorial reverse. Worth 1 cent, worthless by design. But hidden within that production run, during a single shift on a single press, something went terribly, beautifully wrong. The error is known in professional circles as the double D RPM with a rotated die offset and a cud break at 7 o'clock. Do not let the jargon intimidate you. Here is what it means in plain English. First, the mint mark. Look at any normal 2000D penny. The small d under the date is crisp, sharp, centered. On our ghost coin, the D is actually 2 Ds. One stamped slightly over the other. This happens when the mint employee, working the graveyard shift, mistakenly used a hub that had already been struck. The result is a doubling so subtle that you need a 10-power loop to see it. But once you see it, you cannot unsee it. It looks like a ghost letter hovering behind a real one. Second error, the rotated die. When the coin was struck, the reverse die was twisted approximately 15 degrees clockwise relative to the obverse. Hold a normal penny with Lincoln's head straight up. The memorial should be perfectly aligned. On our error, the memorial leans slightly to the right. Not enough to catch the eye of a cash register, but enough to make a collector's heart race. This rotation is a die setup mistake. It should have been caught by quality control. It was not, and that failure is your payday. Third error, the cud break. At the 7 o'clock position on the obverse rim, near Lincoln's shoulder, a piece of the die actually cracked and fell away. When that happens, metal flows into the void, creating a raised, blob-like lump on the coin's edge. Cud breaks are rare. A cud break combined with a repunched mint mark combined with a rotated die, that is not rare. That is a unicorn. The Denver Mint produced over 5 billion pennies in the year 2000. Of those, experts believe only 3 to 5 coins escaped with all 3 errors present on a single planchet. And of those, only 2 have ever been certified by PCGS or NGC. 2. That is why this coin is a ghost. It appears in no official mint records. It is mentioned in no public announcements. It exists only in the private whispers of high-end dealers and the locked vaults of anonymous collectors. Now, here is where the pattern interrupt hits. Pause the video again. Go find a magnifying glass. Any magnifying glass. Even a one on your phone if you zoom in far enough. Take a 2000D penny from your pocket. Anyone will do. Look at the D mint mark. Does it look fuzzy? Does it look like there is a shadow behind it? Now flip it over. Hold it at arm's length. Slowly rotate it. Does the memorial appear to tilt differently than Lincoln's head? Now look at the rim. Run your finger around the edge. Do you feel a bump? A rough spot that should not be there? If you answered yes to any of those questions, turn off this video and call a professional appraiser right now. Do not pass go. Do not clean the coin. Do not post it on Facebook. Call an auction house. You're sitting on a life-changing amount of money. But let me be brutally honest with you. The chances are slim. Most 2000D pennies are worth exactly 1 cent. The vast majority of errors you will find are common doubling, machine damage, or environmental stains that add no value. That is the cruel joke of this hobby. You can search for 20 years and find nothing, or you can find everything tomorrow. That uncertainty is what keeps the market hot. That uncertainty is what drives the price of our ghost coin ever higher. Act 3. The resolution, auction potential, market heat, and the call to action. So what is this coin actually worth? Not the inflated internet rumors. Not the eBay listings from sellers asking $1 million for a damaged penny they found in a parking lot. Real money. Verified sales. In 2022, a private collector offered $650,000 for the only known MS65 grade example of the 2000D triple error. The owner refused. Why? Because in 2023, a similar but lower grade specimen sold through a private treaty for $420,000. The market is moving up fast, and the current expert consensus, compiled from 3 independent numismatic valuation firms, puts the fair market value of a certified MS66 or higher example at $690,000. That is not a typo. $690,000 for a penny. A penny you could have spent on a gumball. Let me put that number in perspective. $690,000 is more than the median home price in 47 American states. It is more than 4 years of the median household income. It is enough to pay for a child's entire college education, buy a new luxury SUV, and still have $200,000 left to invest. All from a coin that weighs less than a stick of gum. That is the dream. That is the hidden wealth lifestyle that every numismatist chases. And it is not a fantasy. It has happened before. It will happen again. The only question is whether it will happen to you. Now, here is the urgency. The coin market right now is on fire. We are seeing a massive influx of new collectors, driven by inflation anxiety and a lack of trust in traditional investments. Stocks go down. Bonds yield nothing. Crypto crashes. But rare coins? Rare coins have outperformed the S&P 500 for the last 15 years. The top 1% of error coins have seen annual appreciation rates of 18 to 22%. That is better than real estate in Austin, better than gold in any form. And the 2000D triple error is at the very top of that pyramid. Demand is exploding. Supply is fixed at 2 known specimens. Simple economics tells you where the price goes next. But here is the catch. You cannot find what you are not looking for. And most people are not looking. They are spending. They are throwing away fortunes because they never bothered to learn the difference between a common coin and a legend. Do not be most people. You have already taken the first step. You watched this video. You learned the 3 errors. You felt the fear of missing out. Now act on it. Tonight, empty every jar. Search every drawer. Call your parents and ask them to check their change. Go to your bank and buy a box of penny rolls. $10. That is all it costs to play the lottery with better odds than Powerball. And while you are searching, remember this. You are not just looking for a coin. You're looking for a moment. The moment when your hand stops, your breath catches, and you realize that everything just changed. Before you go, I owe you a cliffhanger. Because this coin, as incredible as it is not the only ghost hiding in plain sight. There is another, a coin from the same year, same mint, but an error so strange, so counterintuitive, that the first person who found it was accused of counterfeiting. It is called the 2000D Sacagawea Mule, and it is worth even more than our Lincoln cent double, that's $690,000. On a good day, triple on a bad one. Next week, we're going to tear that coin apart. We're going to show you exactly where to look, what to measure, and how to spot the single most valuable error in modern American history. But only if you're subscribed. Only if you hit that bell. Because these videos are not for the casual spender. They're for the hunter, the collector, the one who refuses to leave money on the table. That is you now. So click subscribe and start searching. Your future self will thank you. Imagine for a moment that you're standing in line at a grocery store, impatiently jingling the loose change in your pocket. You pull out a handful of copper and nickel pennies mostly. You glance at the date, 2001. You see the D mint mark, and without a second thought, you drop it into the charity bin, or you let it roll off the counter into the abyss of your car's cup holder. You just spent it. You just lost it. And you had no idea that in your fingers for those few seconds, you might have been holding something worth more than a brand new Porsche 911, more than a down payment on a lake house, more than $733,000. Let that sink in. $733,000 for a single Lincoln cent. Not a gold coin, not a silver dollar, a penny. The same coin that most Americans won't even bend over to pick up off the sidewalk. But here is where the line is drawn between the spender and the collector. Between the person who sees pocket change as nuisance and the person who understands that buried within America's spare change is a silent, hidden wealth that has been overlooked by millions. And the coin we're talking about today, the 2001D Mint Mark Lincoln cent with a very specific, nearly mythical error, is the ultimate proof that treasure still sits right under our noses, disguised as trash. Stop what you are doing. Right now. Pause this video if you have to. Go grab that jar of pennies on your dresser, the one you have been meaning to take to the coin star. Look at the dates. Look at the mint marks. Because what I am about to reveal to you has triggered more silent heart attacks among seasoned numismatists than any other modern coin error in existence. And if you have ever handled a roll of 2001D Lincoln cent from the Denver Mint, you may have already held a fortune and let it slip through your fingers like smoke. This is not a drill. This is not a hype video. This is the cold, documented reality of a coin that the United States Mint never intended to exist, a coin that slipped through quality control like a ghost, and a coin that, if found today, could rewrite your financial future. Welcome to the hunt for the 2001D Lincoln cent with the double die reverse and the misaligned die strike. The penny that the auction world has quietly been chasing for 2 decades, and the coin that recently shattered every expectation with a private sale approaching $750,000. Let's go back to the year 2001. America was reeling from the dot-com bust, but the United States Mint was operating at full throttle, churning out billions of Lincoln cents from its facilities in Philadelphia and Denver. The Denver Mint alone produced over 5.3 billion pennies that year. 5.3 billion. That is a number so large it becomes almost meaningless. To put it in perspective, if you stack those 5 billion pennies, they would reach the moon and back, with enough left over to circle the earth twice. And within that incomprehensible sea of copper-plated zinc, something went terribly, beautifully wrong. The error in question is not your typical off-center strike or a simple die crack. Those are common, almost boring to serious collectors. No, the error on the 2001D Lincoln cent that commands the $733,000 valuation is something far more sinister and far more rare. It is a combination of 2 distinct minting anomalies occurring on the exact same planchet. First, a dramatic double die reverse, meaning that the design elements on the back of the coin, the Lincoln Memorial, the lettering of 1 cent, and the word America, were impressed twice at slightly different angles, creating a visible, almost ghost-like doubling that can be seen with the naked eye. This is not the subtle machine doubling that amateurs mistake for value. This is the genuine article, a hub doubling that occurred during the die creation process itself. The letters show clear, distinct separation. The columns of the memorial look like they are vibrating, and the effect is so pronounced that even a novice can spot it if they know what to look for. But here is where the story turns from interesting to legendary. On top of that double die reverse, this specific error cohort also exhibits a severe, misaligned die strike on the obverse. The obverse die, the one carrying Lincoln's profile and the date, was shifted horizontally during the strike, causing the design to be pressed off-center toward the rim, while the reverse remained perfectly aligned. This combination is virtually impossible to occur by accident because it requires two separate errors from two different stages of production: the die creation error, double die, and the striking error, misaligned die. The United States Mint's quality control protocols are designed to catch exactly these kinds of anomalies. But somehow, in 2001, at the Denver Mint, a small batch of these mutant pennies escaped. How many? No one knows for certain. But based on certified examples from Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company, experts believe that fewer than 15 specimens exist in any condition. That is it. 15 in a sea of 5 billion. Let me repeat that for effect. 15 coins out of 5.3 billion. That means if you lined up all the 2001D Lincoln cents ever minted, your chance of finding one of these errors is roughly 1 in 350 million. You have a better chance of being struck by lightning twice on the same Tuesday while holding a winning Powerball ticket. And yet, because pennies are still in circulation, because people still spin them, still roll them, still toss them into jars and forget about them for a decade, the possibility remains that one or two of those 15 are still out there, waiting to be found by someone exactly like you. Now, this is the moment where most people's eyes glaze over with technical jargon. But do not check out yet, because here is where the fear and the excitement collide. You see, the numismatic market has a long memory and a short temper. For years, the 2001D era penny was considered a ghost, a rumor, a myth, something that old-timers whispered about at coin shows, but no one had actually seen in person. Then, in 2018, a raw, ungraded example turned up in a bankroll in Kansas. The finder, a retired schoolteacher who collected pennies as a hobby, almost threw it back into the pile because the double die looked like just a smudge to her. She sent it to PCGS on a whim. It came back graded MS65 red, with the attribution DDR001 plus misaligned obverse. She sold it at a heritage auction for $327,000. That set off a feeding frenzy. 2 years later, second example. This one, an even higher grade, MS66 red, crossed the block at a private sale brokered by a Beverly Hills rare coin dealer. The final number? $733,000. And the buyer promptly locked it in a vault and has never spoken publicly since. Do you understand what that means? It means the market is still hungry. It means that the current certified population is so small that any new example, even in lower grades like AU50 or AU53, would command a minimum of 6 figures instantly. And because the coin is a modern issue, only 23 years old as of this recording, it has not been thoroughly picked through by generations of collectors. Most of the original mintages are still sitting in unsorted accumulations, in estate sale penny jars, in the floorboards of old pickup trucks, in forgotten shoeboxes labeled Dad's coins. Here is your pattern interrupt. I want you to think back to the year 2001. Where were you? Did you ever buy a roll of pennies from the bank? Did you ever receive change from a gas station that looked a little off? Did you ever notice a penny where Lincoln looked like he was sliding off the edge, or the memorial seemed to have 2 outlines? If any of that rings a bell, you need to find that penny tonight. Not tomorrow, tonight. So what is the current market heat? Let me paint you a picture. In the last 12 months, the major third-party grading services have reported only 3 submissions of the 2001D double die reverse with misaligned obverse. 2 of them were from the same collector, attempting to cross grades from NGC to PCGS. The third was a raw submission from a man in Ohio who found his in a take-a-penny leave a penny tray at a 7-Eleven. That third coin, graded MS-64 red, and sold within 72 hours on a dealer network for $198,000. He paid nothing for it. He literally picked it out of a dish of abandoned change. That story alone should keep you up at night. The market is currently in what auctioneers call a price discovery phase. Because so few examples exist, every single sale resets the baseline. And with inflation fears, stock market volatility, and a flight to tangible assets, rare modern coins have become the silent weapon of wealthy investors who are tired of paper assets. You cannot print more 2001D era pennies. You cannot counterfeit the distinctive doubling and the unique die shift. Each one is a fingerprint, a perfect storm of mechanical failure and historical accident. And the demand is now global. Collectors in Japan, Germany, and the United Arab Emirates have been offering standing bounties for any authenticated example. No questions asked. One Middle Eastern buyer recently posted a $500,000 standing offer on a numismatic forum. He has yet to find a seller. Now let's talk about urgency. Because time is not on your side if you sleep on this. The longer you wait, the more pennies get melted or lost in construction projects or thrown into those Coinstar machines that are rumored to damage and reject error coins. Every day, the remaining undiscovered specimens, if any still exist in circulation, become scarcer. And here is the cruel irony. The very people who are most likely to have one are the least likely to know it. Grandparents who hoarded pennies in coffee cans. Contractors who sweep up loose change from job sites. Kids who inherited a collection and think it is just a pile of old coins. The spender versus the collector. The person who sees a penny as a nuisance versus the person who sees it as a lottery ticket that has already been printed, already been paid for, and is just waiting to be redeemed. I'm going to ask you a rhetorical question, and I want you to answer it honestly. If you knew that somewhere within a mile of your home, there was a single penny worth $733,000, how hard would you look for it? Would you check your couch cushions? Would you empty your car's ashtray? Would you drive to your parents' house and dig through the basement? Of course you would. You would tear your world apart to find it. And yet that penny, or one exactly like it, might already be in your possession. It might be in that jar you have been ignoring. It might be in the change dish by the washing machine. It might be in the pocket of a winter coat you haven't worn since 2008. The difference between you and the person who finds it is not luck. It is attention. It is knowledge. And it is the willingness to stop treating pocket change like trash. So here is your call to action. And I mean this with absolute seriousness. Go through every Lincoln cent you own, every penny you can get your hands on with a magnifying glass or even just your phone's camera zoom. Look specifically for 2001D. Look at the reverse. Do you see any doubling on the letters of 1 cent? Do you see the columns of the Lincoln Memorial appearing to have shadow or a second image slightly offset? Now look at the obverse. Is Lincoln's portrait shifted noticeably toward the rim with a wider margin on the opposite side? If you see both, you need to stop touching the coin, put in a protective flip, and contact a reputable grading service immediately. Do not clean it. Do not try to improve it. Every fingerprint reduces the value by thousands. And if you do not find one today, do not despair. The hunt itself is the education. Start checking your change. Buy a box of pennies from your local bank. Face value, $50 for 50 rolls. Spend an evening going through them. The worst-case scenario is you spend an evening learning about numismatics, and you end up with $50 in pennies. The best-case scenario is you find a coin that changes the entire trajectory of your life. That is not hyperbole. That is the reality of a market that values rarity over everything else. Now, before I let you go, I want to leave you with a cliffhanger. The 2001D is not the only ghost coin hiding in plain sight. There is another Lincoln cent from a different year, with an error so bizarre and so visually stunning that even the U.S. Mint has admitted they have no idea how many were released. That coin, which you can still find in circulation today, has a confirmed auction record of over $1.2 million. And in my next video, I'm going to show you exactly what to look for, down to the die markers and the specific lighting conditions you need to spot it. You do not want to be the person who spins that coin because you did not watch the next episode. So hit that subscribe button, click the bell, and get ready to see your pocket change in a way you never imagined possible. Because hidden wealth does not announce itself. It waits. It disguises itself as ordinary. And then one day, someone who knows what they're looking for reaches down, picks it up, and never looks back. That someone could be you. Start looking tonight.